right. Hello, everybody. Hi, everyone out there. My name is Seppi, rhymes with Peppy, coming to you from Madrid, Spain. Great. We have so many attendees in here. If you can hear me and you can see me, you know the drill. In the comments, let me know. And let me know where you're tuning in from. Would love to see where everybody is in the world. We got a very international bunch at the CMX Summit 2020. Really excited to have all of you guys here for this session on scaling beyond a support forum with the 5 E's of community. We got a lot of California in the house. Great. We got a lot of East Coasters. Great. All right. I'm going to get our presenter up here, Angelica Coleman. Let me get her on so you can see her with me. All right. All right. Keep letting me know where you're from. And just to let if we have time for Q&A at the end, you can drop your questions in the Q&A box that you'll see at the top of the chat. All right, we have Angelica on. Angelica is the Senior Community Manager at Snowflake and has over 7+ years of experience in building and transforming both B2B and B2C digital and in-person communities. Her focus is reducing business costs, scaling programs, and amplifying customers. When she's not in the office, you can find her working out and teaching fitness classes, camping, or dreaming about homesteading in Northern California. So without any further ado, let's all give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, Angelica, I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to pop off, and I'll see you at the end.
I'll see you at the end. Thank you. I'll go ahead and get my screen started sharing. I'm super excited to be presenting with all of you today. So as said before, my name is Angie Coleman. I'm the Senior Community Manager at Snowflake. Before working at Snowflake, I've worked at industries that were B2B like Zendesk, more B2C like Lesbians Who Tech and the Tech Jobs Tour. I've had over 7 years of experience in the community, and outside of my day-to-day job world, building community all the time, whether it's in the fitness world, community of Black and Brown peers, or just other industry folks. And so super excited to share some of my takeaways of what I've learned building community, scaling it, outlining programs, and getting you to the success that you are looking to hit. So without further ado, let me go ahead and go to the next slide. So we're going to learn today a little bit about what I call the 5 E's of community. And this is just like my personal outline of how I structure programs when I'm getting them built. We're going to look at how to structure the programs that you're actually building, where to focus those initial efforts, and as well as where to focus the scale that you're going to want in the future, and how to leverage your existing community for your business goals. So quickly, high level, taking a look at the mapping for this, if you're going to go ahead and outline programs for your community, you want to start by defining why we're building a community. And I'm going to show this slide several times during the presentation because we're going to just go through it and hit each one of these steps. So the first one, before we even launch, we need to figure out why we're building a community. And again, I've worked in a lot of different communities. I talk to professionals who are working in tons of different industries. And the reasons for building a community are almost, I can't say 100%, but we'll say 98.9% of the time, the reasons why we're building the community are the same. And I call these the 5 E's. They're the whys that I use to power what and how I build out my community. So one, I always, no matter where I'm working, I've always needed to educate the members of my community. On top of educating them and sort of in tandem, I need to enable them to succeed. So if they're coming to my community, they want to hang out in Angie's space or wherever that is, I need to make sure they know how to do that and they do it the best they can. On top of that, we always want to engage our members. We want to engage the peers that are in there, and we want to engage and entice our prospects. That was the bonus E. I know it's not on the list, okay? But we want to make sure that we're engaging with the folks who are in our community. And on top of that, bonus ones that I like to add, we want to expand participant usage and involvement. So say members are joining my community, I want them to keep doing whatever my community is offering, and I want them to enjoy doing it and expand what they thought they were going to do when they joined in the first place. And last but not least, we all want to evangelize our programs and our offerings. And so whatever it is that we're doing, we want to make sure that people love it and they're telling other people about it. And so to kind of break this down with a little example that's a little more tangible, I have my little fitness community. This is fake. It doesn't exist. It might someday, who knows. We're going to call it Angie's Fitness Community. And off the top of my head, when I think about what I want this community to do, well, one, I want to showcase holistic health. That's one. I'm realizing I'm educating people off the bat. I want people to adopt sustainable fitness in the way that I present it. So I'm hoping to enable folks to do what I'm showing. I want people to connect with each other over a shared purpose. And so that's my engagement piece. And again, this is super high level. I also want my members to involve themselves in all the health offerings and options that I give them. And so I want them to expand their use in my community. And last but not least, I want to have ambassadors shout from the rooftops how much they love Angie's Fitness Community. So I want evangelizers, I want ambassadors, I want advocates, you can call them champions, anything of that nature. That's what I'm looking to get out of my community. So that's like really high level, first things first, right? A couple things to remember before we go any deeper into this. One, I just said a lot. I know the 5 E's seem really simple to start, but you're probably already thinking off the top of your head, one, I'm one person. I understand communities are under-resourced. I've been one person for a while. I have 2 people right now. I cannot discount the credit I have. But beyond the immediate community team I have an extended community team. These are folks who work in marketing. These are folks who work in support and IT, engineering, and the other teams that I interface with daily. And I consider them part of my extended community team because, as I said before, I can't do everything alone. I would love to be able to educate and enable and evangelize all at once, but that might not be possible. And actually, the evangelism comes from outside of your team as a whole. It comes from your users themselves. And so don't neglect your extended community team. I would recommend that wherever you are in your journey, you take stock of that immediately and figure out who they are and what you're relying on them for, because they are going to be crucial to your success overall. Okay, so we figured out right off the bat why we're building the community. Super simple with the 5 E's. What do we do with those E's afterwards? Like, it's not enough to know why I'm building a community. I need to understand the what is going to be involved in it and how am I going to make it happen. And so before we can even get to what is in the community, I need to figure out what I'm doing with it. So again, I know high level from a goal perspective, I want to educate folks, I want to enable success, and et cetera. But I don't exactly know what that's going to look like. What does success look like? So before I go into outlining the programs, I actually need to stop and define my business goals and community goals. And so we're going to go back to my little example, Angie's Fitness Community. We're going to ask ourselves, what are the goals around X? Now, for this talk specifically, because I have 25 minutes, I'm only going to talk about one goal, the education goal. But this can be applied everywhere. And so if you see me throw around, what are you going to do around X? That X is the E variable that we're plugging in. And so what are the goals around education in the community? Well, for Angie's Fitness Community, definitely let's look at some of these goals. One, like I said, I want to showcase sustainable and accessible fitness. Now, these goals, one, are coming off the top of my head, and two, then working with those extended business teams, extended community teams that I have that are going to help me fill these business goals. And then I know my goals on the community end on another side. And so I want to showcase sustainable and accessible fitness when I'm thinking about education. In terms of a business goal of that, I'm hoping that by educating them on sustainable and accessible fitness, it increases adoption to my gym. So I'm pretending this community is part of the gym that I don't own, okay? So we're gonna get gym signups up the roof once we teach people what it is we're doing. On top of that, I also wanna get an increase in our blog consumption. That's a secondary piece of our community where we're showcasing and highlighting how-tos, demos, tutorials, walkthroughs, workouts, things like that. And I want to make sure that people are ingesting that content. And so we're going to increase that by showcasing more and more. I also want to lower some of the overhead and support costs I have, because I'm running this magical gym with this awesome community, and it's just me. And so whenever someone doesn't know how to do something, how do I sign up for the class? Can I do one-on-one training? Any of those things, they're coming to me, and I'm only one person. And so instead of scaling myself, let's actually find ways to scale the community and leverage them to better lower our costs. And so one of the things I'm thinking of is lowering support costs. Now, again, it's high level right now. You might be asking, but how or with what? And we're going to get there, I promise. I'm just mapping out some of the goals to start. And so looking at this, we're going to lower our support costs. I also have dreams of becoming a fitness industry authority, obviously by showcasing all this brilliant education and knowledge. We'll solidify our place in the industry and make sure that we're leading the conversation around sustainable and accessible fitness. So that's another one of my high-level goals. And last but not least, with all this plethora of knowledge floating around in the community, I hope to become a world-class health brand. I want everyone on the streets walking around saying, I'm part of Angie's fitness community, and it has changed my life. Okay? So, some things to remember before we go to the next spot. Your business goals and community goals are obviously going to be incredibly unique to your company and your business. So I'm talking about fitness, a fake fitness community right now, but if you were to translate this to your, B2B community, your goals might still be similar to lowering support costs or becoming a world-class brand. They might have more specifics around those support costs. They might have specifics around adoption and consumption of the product. Again, you'll determine those goals once you work with your extended team. So I have some high-level goals now. Now I know why I'm building, and I know what I'm building towards. So now I have to figure out, how is that going to happen? So my next step in launching a community program edition is outlining the programs that are going to actually support these goals. And again, now these goals are supporting the why of my community. So you can kind of see how these are all funneling into each other. So I want to outline programs to support my goals. This is when it gets super fun. We're going to ask ourselves, when we're outlining these programs, which types of content and programming will support education. Okay, so again, I'm subbing in that X for education here because that's what we're focusing on. Which types of content and programming are going to support education and my education goals? Let's get into it. So off the top of my head, I just went on a whim. Immediately, gym. I'm trying to start this gym. I'm trying to start this gym community. I need classes and training, okay? So for me, I mapped out, I want some one-on-one level training as well as some hybrid and circuit training, because some people are beginners, some people are experts, and I want to make sure I have something for both. I'm already starting to think about who my audience is and what I'm doing for them. Obviously, it's caked in when I'm thinking about the gym. And hopefully it's something you'll be thinking of too when you're structuring these programs. I also want to have a mix between cardio and strength building, because again, I want to appeal to the broader audiences that I could be tapping into. When I think about training, I want one-on-one and small group, and I definitely need to have like a virtual on-demand component somehow, some way. I don't know how yet. We're going to get there, but I need it. So that's one piece of my programming. So one piece as a whole is the instructor-led classes, and really training could be a whole secondary program. And as you see here, I broke down a little bit deeper just to kind of explain what would those programming pieces look like. So you might say, I want to launch a blog. Well, what's in that blog? And actually, I think that's probably one of them I have on here. It is. So on my on-demand training resources, we get to the next section of my programming, and I think, okay, I do want to launch a blog. And I'm probably going to have how-tos on there. I didn't add this to the slide, but I'm also going to have customer stories, customer articles that they're sharing, use cases. I'm going to have the trainers putting in different types of content depending on what they're trying to promote. I definitely want an online video library that's going to be full to the brim of individual moves standardized across the gym from all our trainers, full workouts, mini workouts, some demos, and maybe let's throw in some exercise guides, some evergreen content people can just download when they join, kind of work at their own pace before they even get any more involved in our community. I'm being a little excessive, and I hope you can you can tell. This is a lot to start with. So we can't forget merch either, because even though we're talking in the education realm right now, part of educating is brand awareness. And so in order to become that world-class brand, I definitely need merch. I'm going to have an online store and I'm going to have an in-house store. Okay, so depending on if you're purchasing things online or you're coming into shop, I want to make sure you have things available at each time. So let me stop myself there. Something to remember here. The deeper you dive into the what and the how of your programming, the better setup for success you will be, okay? And so you'll notice I could have just written very short bullets. I'm gonna have an online shop, I'm gonna have some workout classes, and I'm gonna have a website. That's cool, that's a great start, but what is gonna be on that? What's going to be in those programs and how are they going to work? So again, the deeper that you can break down what it is that those pieces are going to hold, the better you're going to be set up to succeed with what you're trying to do. Now, I said a lot, and not just because I have 25 minutes for time. This is a lot to outline your program. So we have to think about how are we going to map out the tactics to support the program success, which in turn is going to support the goals we're trying to meet, which in turn supports the community that we're building. So we have to map out the tactics. We're going to ask ourselves, which tactics can we put in place to support our programs? And we ask this because, again, I just said a lot of things in our programming. And some of those, I don't know if I can personally do those, but I know I want them in my community. So let's take the next step. We're not going to limit ourselves at the start, but let's take the next step and figure out what is it that we need to do to make sure that these programs work. So then I'm going to dive a little deeper. Okay, so I said I want a video library. Okay, I guess we'd probably want to preload it with 100 exercises. And we're going to put out a new video bi-weekly. That's one of our tactics. And all these videos will be shared or linked in our newsletters, plus our social. And each video I have is going to have a corresponding blog. There's a couple high-level tactics. They're not even the nitty-gritty yet, but just get an idea of what are we even thinking of? What does each of these programs consist of? On top of that, I have 101 classes, same deal. I'm gonna go through and break down. I want one 101 level class a day. I want all of these classes recorded and added to our on-demand resource library. Who's going to do that? I don't know, but I want it to happen, okay? I want instructors to lead these classes, and I want them to promote them because these classes help them get clients later on. Of course, we're advertising in social in our newsletters, and of course, every class we teach has a corresponding blog for the 101 level. So I go through and I outline a couple of these. I do it for in-house training, I do it for my on-demand resources, and I believe, I look at it for my merch as well. And part of why I want to go into deeply, what are these tactics, what's needed for each program, because they're going to teach us what is possible with our current infrastructure. So something to remember when we're outlining your tactics. They can range from what you're going to do to how you're going to do it to who will be involved and what resources and tools you're going to need. And if you remember my little timeline that I set up at the beginning, here we are, perfect. We need to understand all of those things because by the end of this program, step 5 is to enable functionality for success. And I don't know what functionality I need if I never mapped out how the program works. And I don't know how the program works if I never mapped out the program because I never mapped out the goals. And so you see each one of these steps feeds into the other. And so again, I mapped out a ton of dreams that I want for Angie's Fitness community. But what can I actually do? How does my current infrastructure, the resources I have, the platforms I'm using, everything like that, how does that support my plans for education in the community and all of these programs I mapped out? So then I took a second to stop, and this is very high level just to give an example. Okay, well, I need a website refresh because I don't have a blog component. And actually, fun fact, I don't even have a website for Angie's Fitness Community. So I need a whole blog refresh, a whole website refresh, and a blog component added, and chatter and forums. Okay. I need video hosting capabilities because where is this resource library going to live? And also, who's creating the videos? I need a studio or some sort of an MVP version of a studio, and I need editors because I don't know how to do those things. Then more high-level thinking, gym store, who's going to design and who's going to host it? I need functionality for all of that. That needs to be mapped out. And then I need merch vendors. That could take forever looking up potential vendors for merch. We all know how fun swag is. So something to remember, because again, it's a lot. Your initial launch is going to be a lot smaller than what I just outlined. And again, I only outlined for education. I didn't outline for enablement or engagement or expansion or evangelism. I just outlined for education. And so you have to remember that your initial launch is going to be a lot smaller. 1 to 2 programs per E goes a long way, okay? So if I wanted to really step back, instead of launching all of those things at once, let's start with the website, the blog, and your one-on-one level fitness classes. Let's just start there. And again, you can mix and match those programs and you can see how they might feed into 1 or 2 E's at the same time. A lot of times your educational program will feed into the enablement side. And a lot of times your engagement could feed into the evangelism. And so if you're smart with the way you structure it, you can knock off 2 birds, 1 stone and have twice as big of an impact. And last but not least, if you're really struggling with kind of closing that up and tightening up those programs, start with 1 or 2 business goals and go from there. 1 and 2 business goals, 1 to 2 community goals. So lowered support, a world-class brand, and maybe engage my members and educate them. That's just what I want to start with, and then scale up from there. It's totally normal for communities to take years to be built. I structure my building out every quarter, and probably every other quarter I jump for the next big thing. And so mine's a little accelerated just because I have had some more resources. But when I haven't had resources, I go very slow. And that is okay, because it's better to build smartly than to just start out the gate with everything and then have no bandwidth to maintain it. So in the end, this is my dream and Angie's Fitness community. In the end, after I go through all of my 5 E's and I map this out for each one, this is what my overall community could look like. It could be a mix of newbie material and educational to evangelism and ambassador programs to actually having meetups and conferences and events to having blogs and internet presence. And so this is just sort of a high level. And again, just 25 minutes to go through this, but if you really map it out, you can end up with a fully robust community that is going to meet not only all the needs of your members and provide value, but also support your business in succeeding. So that is all I have. If there's anyone who has questions, I know we have a couple minutes left on the clock to do so. And of course, you can find me on all the socials or shoot me an email or find me on LinkedIn.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Another round of applause time for Angie. Virtual round of applause. Drop those emojis in the comments there. Let her know how much you love her presentation. Love it. And I see that we do have some questions here. So I'm going to hop over to the Q&A box. If you guys have questions, drop them in there. We have a few already. So I'll start with the first one. Sunil asks, how can we increase take rate of customer/member education?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple things, and this is kind of goes back to your extended team who's going to be so instrumental in your success in measuring that. I work with my IT department to sort of track consumption of our materials. So we use Salesforce Community Cloud right now. And so I work with them to kind of figure out what are my views, are people reading it? I also use basic Google Analytics to figure out what people's pathways are on my site. Are they reading information and then submitting support tickets? Or are they reading information and satisfied and leaving? And so there's a couple different things that you could play around with to kind of figure out if the educational material is working and where those gaps are that need to be filled.
All right, next question is from Kiara. She says, would you put marketing, publicity, and comms in tactics?
Yes, 100%.
Sure, fire answer there. All right. And the last question that we have here is from Elsa. She says, which E's do you focus the most on at Snowflake and why?
Hi, Elsa. I focus on all of the E's. I'd say the biggest one for me is evangelism right now, working with what we call our data superhero program. It's our MVPs, our advocates, and also really focused on engagement right now. I think being virtual and being remote, there's such a unique opportunity to do so many different things on the engagement front that we haven't even considered. I know at first it was like a limitation being remote, and now it's sort of this like, let's get really creative, what can we do? And so I'd say engagement and evangelism are the two biggest that I focus on.
Great,
yeah.
All right, and it looks like our time is up. So Angie, thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge with us. This was incredible. And I want to thank all the viewers as well for your questions, your comments, and for being here for the session.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is so much fun.
Yes, keep those claps coming in the comments there. And I'm going to hop on to the next session. I do want to let everyone know that there is going to be networking post-summit since we're getting close to the end. So at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, you can head to the networking tab and continue the event there with your networking. So Angie, thank you again. And thank you everybody for being here. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.